So don't think that the feminine is only the passive. The feminine is actually the stronger giver through knowing how to go into that passivity actively. You could say it's active passivity.
Right, and that's where the blessings.
Welcome, good Ellie from Pomona Heights. Yeah. Where's your shul?
Congregation Achdus Yisrael, located on 9 Laydentown Road, slightly north of Route 202, off the Palisades in Pomona. If you're in the neighborhood, stop by and say hello.
Yeah, so Congregation Achdus is Israel. That's a place of unity, and that's really why we're here. In some ways, well, you and I are here. In some ways, all of us are here. For Achdus, we're looking for that connection. So, absolutely. So hello to all the viewers. It's good to have you here with us. Today we're with Hayey Sarah with the Parsha, and we're going to, again as usual, study a bit here from the Sefer from Netivot Shalom by the Sloner Rebbe, Rabbi Shalom Noach Brzezinski, the late of Yerushalayim. And if you have the book at home, so we're in the obviously Parshat Hayey Sarah is in the book of Bereshit, and we're on page Kuf Lamed Gimel. It's under the title Vayavo Avraham Lispod et Sarah, and Avraham came to mourn Sarah, and we're going to get into that. There's a beautiful teaching here about feminine, masculine energy, the beauty of really the holiness of Sarah and what she represents, and it's really true that often we really get to appreciate somebody in their fullness after they pass, and this is that very special moment with Sarah that she's passed, and Avram is, so we have our whole attention about her, the greatness of her life, and what she, the gift she has to offer us.
That's right. As a matter of fact, you just remind me of an interesting point, that the name of the Parsha says everything about the Parsha. Mm-hmm. And the name of the Parsha is Hayey Sarah, the life of Sarah.
The life of Sarah,
but the Parsha begins with that she just passed away. Yeah. Right here, the whole piece, the Devar Torah we're going to learn, is based on something that you may sing on Friday evening, Eishes Chayil, the woman warrior. The woman warrior, or the woman of accomplishment, the woman of valor. It's a famous poem written by King Solomon from the Mishlei, it's called the Proverbs, the sayings of Shlomo, and so there's a famous tune to some of this that we'll just sing a little bit of. And this is actually written about 100 and some odd years ago by a chassid who his daughter, he was very poor, and his daughter was going to get married, and they came to the father looking for money to buy the wedding dress, and he didn't have money for the wedding dress. And at the wedding, when it was time to dance, he said to his daughter, "I didn't have money for this. Couldn't buy you the wedding dress that you deserved, but this is what I have for you." And he began to sing this song. Oiz v'hadar levusha v'tischak leyayim acharayim. Oiz v'hadar levusha v'tischak leyayim acharayim. Yada da 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 da, yada da da da, yada da 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 da. da 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 ooh yeah da 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 yara hai ya ya na hai ya 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 da 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 da. Yeah. So that was a great gift to his daughter, and we're singing it 100 years later.
And we're going to learn about the chasana, the marriage of the Kosh Baruch Hu and the Shabbat.
That's right. That's
so
right.
This is just fitting, right? So, B'midrash Tanchuma Chayei Sarah, in the Tanchuma in the Midrash on Chayei Sarah, on this parsha, התחיל אברהם לבכות עליה ולומר אשת חיל. So from the parsha, Abraham began to weep over her and to say Eshet Chai, the famous words from Proverbs that are also sung every Friday night. Basically, what the Midrash is telling us is that Abraham himself said Eshet Chai, referring to Sarah, and obviously, so this is a beautiful midrashic interpretation, because obviously the Eshet Chayil as a poem did not exist at the time of Abraham. But in the Torah, where the Ein Mukdam U'Meuchar, this is the beauty that is where how he connected, how he was maspid, how he was grieving for Sarah. And he says that in the midrash. So it shows how every verse in Eshet Chayil is referring specifically to Sarah's life. And just to say, give a little bit of a taste of Eshet Chayil for those of you who are not familiar. Eshet Chayil means Rachok mipninim michra batach ba'alev ba'ala v'shala lo yachsar. And here it goes like this: a good wife who can find her worth is far above rubies. The heart of her husband trusts in her, and nothing shall he lack. And this is, etc., and goes on for many verses, praising the woman of valor. Eshet Chayil really means woman of valor, the woman of greatness. So here he gives us an example. And on the So the Midrash tells us when it says, and she took, I guess, purchased the field. Would that be it?
Purchase? She looked at the field,
and she makes a purchase.
She bought it.
So this is about how she's crafty with business, and she can, she appreciates a good piece of real estate, and she gets it, and she's just handling the the interests of the economy of the household, with astuteness. And the Midrash says the Kayal Me'arat HaMachpelah. So the Midrash says, well, what is that sadeh, that the field that Abraham buys from the Hittites in order to have a burial place for Sarah? But this is difficult. How can the Midrash say that? So wasn't the field bought after Sarah died? How could you relate that to Sarah's greatness? As a tribute to her, she did not buy that field. She didn't think about it. Abraham thought about it after she died. So this is where the Slonimer here starts by challenging the Midrash. So it's got to be something deeper, because on the simplistic literal level, it doesn't make sense. Yet the Midrash will attribute every one of those pesukim in some way, every one of those verses to Sarah. So there's a beautiful opening here, right, to go into a deeper, non-linear message. Again, how can buying the field be attributed to Sarah because Abram did it after her death? Gam hu mikocha. He says no. This is also draws from her energy, from her potency. Kocha is her. What would you say? Her
spiritual energy.
Her spiritual energy, right? So even though Avram buys it, the Avram's purchase is draws from. It's inspired. It extends from
her way of looking at the world.
Exactly, from her spiritual energy, from who she was. Shual derech mamar Chazal, as the sages said in the Gemara in Brachot Yudchet, tzadikim b'mitatan kruin chaim. והיינו שיש בהם כוח הנצחיות והשפעתם קיימת גם לאחר הסתלקותם. So Chazal say that tzaddikim, the righteous one, or you could say the holy ones, are b'mitatan kruin chaim, in their death, they're called alive.
Right. And we also see by Yaakov Avinu, by Jacob, it says Yaakov lo meis. He never died. Well, he died 3,000, 4,000 years ago. So the idea is that we're talking about the neshama, the soul. When the soul is enclosed in a body for 120 years in good health, it's limited to a certain extent by the fact that it is enclosed in the gashmis, in materiality. It has to come down to this world to do something in the material world.
Yeah.
But really, it doesn't want to be here. It wants to go back to where it came. But after the neshama leaves the body, the neshama and the body are still here. They're just separated now. The neshama is eternal.
Yeah.
And the effect of a person's neshama is felt eternally.
Right. So in some ways, the neshama is more here after the passing, which is counterintuitive. Right? Exactly. We think we're here when we're in the body, but in some ways, in the spiritual sense, we're even more here after the body is deposed and
right.
The neshama
in the sense that that neshama has influence even in this world.
Right. And I think about it also in the way of legacy. When people are when great neshamas are around, and I mean, sure, we don't want to say, qualify and say somebody's great and somebody's lesser and whatever. But, for me, in my experience, I've met people who I judge as great neshamas,
And when you live your life in a way that is attempting to emulate the teachings of your Rebbe, or the character traits of your Rebbe, he is living through you.
Through your actions. And here you can say that this is exactly Avram here.
Well, this is the ultimate, because Avram and Sarah, the first Jewish people, so to speak. So we're talking here specifically about Sarah, Sarah Imenu.
Yeah.
So when any woman, or even a Jewish man to that matter, when we act in a way that reminds us, or that we based upon a lesson that we've learned from the lives of Sarah and Abraham, then Sarah is living through us. She's alive today.
Yeah, beautiful dynamic of the masculine and the feminine, and how Sarah represents. And Rebelli and I we were just discussing this before we came on recording, is how how there's the perceptions of masculine and feminine, and there's some sensitivities about patriarchy, and and how in the past there was at least socially, the power imbalance between man and woman, but there's a deeper, more beautiful dynamic here in which which Sarah represents a greatness, and this is what we were talking about, that we. I was telling Rebelli before, as a man, I want to learn from that. I want to see how can I be the legacy carrier of Sarah as well. That means that in the tzaddikim there's the power, the force of eternity. And their influence continues after they are already deceased. So the force of the woman of valor, of the woman of greatness, continues past her the actual presence. וזה מה דמצינו בתורה הלשון, ויאמר השם לאברהם, שרה אשתך לא תקרא את שמה שרי. וגומר, וכן שרה אשתך יולדת וגומר. כלומר, לכאורה מיותרת תיבת אשתך. So he says, how do we see this in the Torah? Because it says, ויאמר השם לאברהם, שרה אשתך. God says to Avram, Sarai, your wife. And so the question is, he asks, לכאורה מיותרת תיבת אשתך. Why does it say אשתך? Why doesn't it say Sarah, your wife?
We know who she is.
Yeah, we know who she is. We know she's his wife. It could be just Sarah, right? So the word Ishtecha here is hinting to something more, deeper than that. And he says, Ela merumaz kamur sheyesh b'zeh b'chinat nitzchiyut. So this hints to us that the b'china of Sarah has eternity in it. The Ishtecha points to her eternal quality.
Right. She's the paradigm for all Jewish women forever.
For now and forever. They're this woman. It's kind of like she's the queen archetype, right? She's the Sarah archetype. And the model.
Sarai means my princess.
Mm-hmm.
First, she was God's princess. You're my princess.
Right.
You belong to me, and you're a princess. You're my princess.
Right.
But now she's no longer my princess. She's Sarah. She's princess
for
everybody, forever.
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 Yeah. And maybe especially for all women, you could say, or for all, like as the feminine. She's the feminine. She's
well, she represents the Shekhinah, which is the part of, which is how the feminine aspect of God we describe as the Shekhinah,
right,
which is the closest to us,
to our real experience.
Exactly.
Right? This is the divine that we can experience, that we can
relate to.
In our
right.
lives.
And in the Kabbalah terminology, this is known as Malchut, Malchus. Mm-hmm. It's the last part. It's of the creation, which is the closest to us, and it's really how we relate to God is through this element of Malchus, which is Sarah, which is the queen and the Shekhinah.
She remains Sarah's wife after her death as well. Because especially the forefathers and foremothers have a enduring quality, a lasting quality. וזהו פירוש זממה ונטלה שדה המכפלה. על פי האמור שהכל בזכותה, בהשפעתה ובהשראתה של אשת חיל. Okay, so this is the explanation. He comes back again to say that she, what does it mean that she took the field of Machpelah, which is the plot that Avram buys to bury her, that was on her merit, under her influence, and under her inspiration of the woman of greatness, of Sarah.
Which is an amazing idea because he uses the word hashpa'ah.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole idea here is that there are basically two forces in play in the world. There's the force of mashpia and the force of makabel.
Mm-hmm.
There are givers and there's receiving.
Right.
And everyone, of course, is simultaneously, hopefully, balancing being a giver and a receiver.
Right.
But if we could, just in terms of strict biology, we have the male is the mashpia, and the woman is biologically the receiver.
Yeah.
But so interestingly, the Slonimer here is referring to Sarah as the mashpia, as the giver, and everything because there's no.
And Abraham is the makabel.
Exactly, we're all the makabel, which is counterintuitive, but ultimately because it's based on a misunderstanding of what it means to be a makabel.
Mm-hmm.
So, but in order to be a mashpia, you have to be a makabel.
Yeah. So there's a flow.
Exactly, and that's the field. That's the field that she metaphorically purchases.
Right.
It's a field.
Right.
And then you plant.
That's right.
And then you plant, and then things grow.
That's right.
If you're not a field, nothing will eventually grow from that field. You have to make yourself an empty field.
Right.
And that's the lesson of Sarah.
Right. So what you're pointing out to, and the Sonar is going to get to that, is that in some ways Sarah is she's the ultimate receiver, and that's the field that is planted in. That's the feminine energy, and that's Malchus too. The Sephir of Malchut is, in the flow dynamic of the world, as it's created, everything flows. I mean, the wind flows, the rain flows, the rivers flow, the life flows, everything flows. Has to flow from one place to another place. It moves and so there's the end that's the mashpia, and there's the end that's the mekabel, right? So end that's the giver, the bestower, I think is the word, or the emanator, and there's the end that is the mekabel, which is the the receiver and the holder, you could say.
Right, and the ultimate giver, because then the woman gives birth.
Right, and then that becomes the
and the cycle and the flow continues.
It just goes like that. So, ועל בחינה הזאת, אשת חיל דאף היא בחינת מקבל, הרי כל הגשמיות והרוחניות הם בזכותה. So, in the aspect, in the energy quality of the Eshet Chayil, a woman of greatness, דאף שהיא בחינת מקבל, even though she is in principle the receiver, everything in matter and in spirit are in her merit. And And this is why we say, this is hinted when we sing Eshet Chayil, the poem for Proverbs, every Friday night.
Right, solves that mystery, right? You could wonder why you're singing Eshet Chayil. It's good to praise your spouse, don't get me wrong. It's always good. But why specifically Friday night, when we're about to make Kiddush, is it the time to sing a song praising your spouse? Mm-hmm. Because the spouse is Shabbos.
Because the spouse is Shabbos. Because she represents that emptiness and doing by not doing. Shabbos is doing by is our doing by not doing. It's like you gotta make space. You gotta stop. You gotta space. And that's a principle of Sarah and of Shabbos itself, right? So here the Slonimer says Sarah is Shabbos. Shabbos is Sarah. That is the deeper teaching here. על פי מה אמור בספרים הקדושים ובעבוד רהם בעניין השבת קודש, according to the commentators and the holy books, שהקדוש ברוך הוא כביכול בחינת החתן, God is the groom, והשבת בחינת הכלה, and Shabbat is the bride. As we sing Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala Pnei Shabbat Nekabela, we sing that on Friday night. Go, my beloved, towards greet the bride. Let us welcome Shabbat, etc. And you can see that here. So Sarah, right? Sarah is Shabbat. Sarah is the bride, Abraham's bride. And you see the whole thing is there's a parallel how this all works together, right? ואנו אומרים זאת כנגד עניין זה שישנו בשבת, שהיא בחינת אשת חיל. And we say it כנגד עניין זה שישנו בשבת, שהיא בחינת אשת חיל. That Shabbat is of the energy of the great feminine. והשבת לית לה מגר מכלום, ומכל מקום כל ברכן דעילה ותתא ביום השביעת Talian, that's from the Zohar in Aramaic. So the Shabbat in and of itself doesn't have any substance of itself.
Well, the whole idea of Shabbos is non-doing. Mm-hmm. And we're refraining from doing all the stuff we do the other 6 days. Mm-hmm. We refrain. So it sort of appears to be passive.
There's nothing there.
There's nothing there. Yeah. Exactly. Now back to the field. Everyone knows that if we constantly work one section of a field over and over again, it it's diminishing returns, and then it ends up being, it doesn't grow anything.
Yeah.
That's why we have the idea in the land of Israel of every 7 years, we let the land rest.
Yeah.
We rest every 7 days.
Yeah.
This constant idea of resting and regeneration.
Right.
And so the idea of Shabbos and Sarah is the idea of being Makabel, opening ourselves up.
And the Zohar here says, just to finish the finish, is the Zohar here says that, interesting enough, all blessing draws from that. All blessing during the week, right? In both in material and in spirit, draws from that nothingness. Draws from that empty space. That's what the Zohar is saying here. שכל הברכות הגשמיות והרוחניות בזכותה. And to say that all the blessings come out of the feminine side of this marriage.
That's right.
The she is the source of the blessing.
That's correct.
According to Zohar.
That's correct. For Shabbos and in the Jewish home. In the Jewish home, all the blessings are a result of the mother,
right?
The Jewish mother.
Right. And that's something that, I mean, what's interesting, I mean, the teaching obviously comes from men, because men have written men have written the liturgy. So I think here this is us men, or me as a man, acknowledging that, boy, I may be running around, all week, or all day, but there's a certain source of blessing that comes from my partnership, right, with my feminine counterpart.
The lesson here, the teaching here could be that not all the time, but we have to have an element of space, of passive, of allowing things to come in, and just to sort of percolate and settle, and then when that grows, and then maybe if we just give it time, then maybe when we want to be a mashpia, we'll have a fuller set of facts, of a more matured ideas to share with the world, instead of running to.
No, beautiful. I mean, I think as we were talking about this, we're really appreciating the emptiness and the passiveness, as a force, not as a nothing, but really as a presence, as a generative force. I mean, something comes out of that emptying, something comes out of the receivership. And in fact, the Solomon finishes here, and we'll wrap it up with that, is ובכלל זכור ושמור בדיבור אחד נאמרו, we sing that on Shabbat. The Zachor, the masculine element of Shabbat, and the Shamor, the feminine of Shabbat, are said in one breath, in one word. שבשבת קודש אפילו הנוקבה מרומז בשמור היא גם כן בחינת משפיע. Even the feminine that is hinted with the word shamor is also the giver.
Right.
It says the Solomon, Right. So don't think that the feminine is only the passive. The feminine is actually the stronger giver through knowing how to go into that passivity actively. You could say it's active passivity.
Right, and that's where the blessings.
And this is where the chol berachan the leilul the data beyond shiva tlanian, and all blessings in life really depend on this.
Right. Beautiful.
And that is the legacy of Sarah. With that, we conclude. Let's end with a song.
I end with a song. Okay, so we started with a song. I think we're going to end with the same. It's such a beautiful niggin, such a beautiful tune.
Yeah.
And I played it a little bit quietly. We'll play it a little bit more lebedik, a little bit more lively. Yeah. And everyone that can join at home, please v'hada lebusha, v'tischach liyin acherin. The woman, she gets the last laugh in this story.
Yeah, that's right.
Oy v'hada lebusha, v'tischach liyin acherin. Oy v'hada lebusha, v'tischach liyin acherin. Yeah, day, 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 day. Yeah, day, 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 day.
We say good Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom. May you be blessed. May we all be blessed with pregnant emptiness.
Amen.
Please subscribe by clicking the red button below. Like, share, comment. It is great to have you here. See you later.